This video is in reference to the Typography Fundamentals midterm that you'll be working on. The midterm, it has three parts to it. The first part is the midterm itself, which is the project that we'll be mainly discussing in this video. The second part is the fact that you need to participate in a discussion with a discussion group regarding the progress you've made on your midterm, and give your fellow students some feedback on their midterm projects. And the third part is the midterm exam, which is really just it just combines all the quizzes from prior weeks into one large exam. Great chance to make points and reiterate some of the things that you read, and make sure that you haven't lost track of the earlier materials. Okay, so let's talk about the midterm itself, which is going to be the biggest challenge for everybody. First off, what is it? I want you to note that I did create an example for you. So what you're going to want to do is, and this may not say weeks 4 and 5 if this is the 16-week class. This is the summer class that you're looking at here, in case I don't end up replacing this video. But if you look inside of the assignments, you're going to see the midterm discussion, and this date's going to change if this video isn't updated at the time, but basically there's going to be a due date for you to post to the discussion board, which is going to be prior to the actual due date for the project, and then there's a due date for students to give feedback, and you'll be broken up into groups. These are the groups from the summer section of this course. Then there's the midterm test, and then there's the midterm project. So what you're going to do is you're going to download the midterm template, and make sure you read over the description right here. I also want you to notice that there's a midterm example that I've created. This is a big deal because it shows you sort of what's expected. To make sure and take a look at that. In fact, you're going to see some more videos on this topic. This is essentially a PowerPoint presentation. It's a presentation with three parts. Part 1 talks about type contrast, Part 2 talks about type hierarchy, and then Part 3 talks about type analysis. In regards to type contrast, by the way, each the title slide and the transition slide should all have a visual theme. This is an example of a type contrast. This is a big deal. Sometimes students really make a mistake here, so I want you to hear me loud and clear. You're going to be given two words. You're going to choose two different fonts for the two different words, and these two should contrast one another. They can contrast in a lot of ways. Size, category, color, and all of these are listed right here in the template on the left. Notice that the transition slides have pink tips on them. Basically, it summarizes what you're doing. But in this case, like it says here, size, color, category, width, and height. The idea is to make these two different. And this is how I made the two different. I chose a bold slab serif and put this guy right next to a thin serif or old style typeface. So take a look at the contrast here. Then I contrasted the thicknesses, I contrasted color, I contrasted category, just like it says here. And by the way, in case you're curious, how did I do that? I always press W on and off. It allows you to see what your design is going to look like without the margins and all the extra stuff that's outside those margins. The next part, here's another transition slide for my design. You're going to be given this, which is quite plain. The idea is to create a hierarchy. So there's no hierarchy here, and this is the hierarchy that I created. So the idea is to create a hierarchy, and you need to read over here. Number 1 is top 3 typographic sins. Number 2 is the sins themselves, and then there's the paragraph introducing the 3 sins. Please note that this is not the order that these appear. First off, you got the title up here, then you've got the paragraph, and then you've got your 3 points. And there's another thing that I'm asking students to do here, which is to contrast within this area. So in other words, as you can see, I'm using 2 different typefaces. I'm using a sans serif and a serif, and I'm also contrasting black with red. And you see a lot of contrast in size. This is number 1, nice and big. Then number 2 down here is these 3 points, and then last but not least is the copy itself, which is this guy right here, which is the paragraph. And I've also got some little embellishments, as you can see, with this bracket that I put in right here. So that's the second part. So by the way, you're gonna do 3 of these, not 1. The example only has 1, but you're gonna do 3. I didn't want to do all 3 because I don't want to take away any more ideas than I already have from you. So sometimes it can be difficult for students to design something different than what I created if I create too much stuff. All right. And then last, you're going to have 2 of these, which is a type analysis that you're going to be doing. In this case, I farmed up off of a font website. I farmed up this font, permanent marker, and I discussed the category, which is what you'll need to do, the vibe, the feel, and I've just got some general comments right here. I won't read all these to you, but I will establish this, that if you don't really nail the category and the feel, you're not going to do well in this part of the assignment. This relates back to the assignments that we had where you categorized fonts during week 3, and where you chose fonts based on vibe and feel during week 3. So this is really pretty much that, and it also talks about type anatomy a little bit, where you can point out parts of the anatomy and make some points. This can be very miscellaneous. You can have a lot of fun. You can do some research. You see right here I'm talking about Ninja Turtles. You're probably wondering what that's about. Well, feel free to read this. But you're going to have 2 of these in your example. So when you get yours, it's going to look like this template here. Everything's going to be relatively rough. You're going to fill in the blanks. You have your title slide. You're going to create some graphics here. Pick out some fun fonts. And this is going to introduce everything, and then you're going to start through your transitions. This is part 1, and then you're going to do this section here: Stone Cold, Quiet Anger, Bold Love. And I ask that you don't change these. And I chose these strategically. There's some hot, cold, thick, thin things that you can do with these. And right here we transition to the type hierarchy, which is just one design. Make sure and read over here so you know the order of importance. Then it transitions to the next part, which is where you do 2 type analysis or analyses, or whatever you want to call it. You're going to analyze 2 different typefaces. Right, so let's summarize what's up. You want to take and complete this probably within the first week. Whether it's summer section or it's the 16-week session, you still have I suggest you get this done in a week. And then you're going to be sharing it with your peers, discussing it, and then go back over it and make whatever updates you think you need to make. And then make your final submission. and somewhere in there finish your exam. So basically, that's a summary of what we're going to be doing during this part of the class. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I appreciate all your hard work so far in the class, and I'm looking forward to whatever you're going to be creating for the midterm project.